My name is Sarah Dobson, and I'm here today on behalf of the Earth Charter International, as the coordinator of youth projects. And I'd like to begin by expressing gratitude for the invitation to come and speak. I want to express gratitude for the people that organized the conference, as well as the people that have set everything up, cooked all the delicious food, cleaned up after all of our messes. So I really appreciate all the work that went into the conference and for the opportunity to speak. As a young woman, I don't often have opportunities to speak to this many people in one space. I'm certainly not speaking representing young women. We have a lot of different perspectives, so I can only speak for my own, and I'm sure that perspective is different from a young woman from India, a young woman from a different spiritual tradition, a young woman with different abilities. So I appreciate the opportunity to speak from my own perspective and on behalf of the Earth Charter. And I'd like to talk to you a bit about our organizational commitment to GAP. So there are actually two commitments. One is an online program for educators around sustainability, but it's in Spanish and Portuguese. So today I'd like to focus on the GAP commitment with youth that I'm working on in partnership with CEE, with UNESCO, and with some other organizations. So next year this year, 2016, which we are now in, the Earth Charter is launching an online training program for youth. And that program will begin with a 10-week course in leadership, sustainability, and ethics. And in that course, we want to provide a lot of different diverse content. And at the end, we are asking that youth do a workshop in their local communities around one of the topics from the course. And youth that complete their online training program will then be invited to become Earth Charter youth leaders. And that will be an extended opportunity to continue engaging with the youth network, to become focal points for the youth network, to engage other youth, to continue doing workshops, to create content for the youth network. And essentially it's a leadership opportunity and an opportunity to implement Earth Charter values and steps towards sustainability for young people all over the world. That commitment, the course that we are working on, we've been working on with a few other partners, and it's also something that we want to continue improving upon. And the more partnerships we have, the stronger the course can become. So I would also really invite young people connected to youth networks to get in touch with us, whether to apply to participate or to participate in the transformation of this course as it develops. I also wanted to speak briefly about commitment in another way. So as an organization, this online training program is one step that we are taking as part of the Global Action Program, trying to realize youth empowerment and trying to create platforms by which youth can meaningfully participate in the realization of the Sustainable Development Goals. I also believe that there's an opportunity for personal commitment, and the Earth Charter is a tool that some people have found useful as a collective framework guiding vision for how we want to live, how we want to work. And I'm just curious if people could raise their hands if they've ever heard of the Earth Charter before. Okay, so many of you have heard of the Earth Charter, and I would invite everyone that's read it and hasn't read it to take another look at it, because there's a lot of richness there, and every time I read it, I take something new away. And I think that whether we are working within an organization with youth, whether we're working on climate change, whether we're working on gender equality, that when we say that we are making a commitment to one of these goals, to really recognize how integrated each of these are. So if I say commitment to this sustainable development goal, this priority action, to recognize how in the Earth Charter vision, how all of these goals are inseparable and how all these goals are interconnected. And when I'm designing my course, our course for youth empowerment, how is that content and how is that pedagogy addressing climate change? How is it addressing gender equality? How is it addressing participatory practices? And as we each are taking steps toward the goals which we might find closest to our hearts, how we can recognize how our actions are addressing and advancing, or perhaps hurting the advancement in these other areas that are also interconnected. They say that Einstein defined insanity as doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And I think many of us do that in different ways. And we've talked a lot about needing to transform our systems and transform our economy, our education. And we're also standing up on a panel and everyone is facing us and listening in sort of a traditional setup that we've used for many years to impart knowledge. And I think that in our personal commitment toward working toward these goals, we also can commit to doing things differently, to trying something new, and to raising up voices that haven't traditionally been heard. Just a couple examples of what that might look like. When we meet a man, a woman, and a child, do we greet each one with the same attention and care? When we invite a young person to speak, do we listen with the same recognition of legitimacy or expectation of knowledge that we might to someone that has been deemed an expert? So within each of our work and within our daily lives, how can we transform the way that we are interacting and our relationships with one another and with the natural world, as we are also advancing as organizations and as institutions? I think that this morning we covered how we know that measuring is imperfect. Our indicators are imperfect. It's still important to try and to continue improving. But what we can do is agree on sort of a collective vision and make our own personal commitments and decide where we want to go and how we want to interact with one another and with the world. And the Earth Charter is one tool for doing that, but I would like to invite each person, as we're thinking about what we can do as organizations on the international, regional, and national level, also what personal commitment is necessary to recognizing new voices and to giving those value, to being willing to transform and recognize how we can advance the transformation that we're looking for. Thank you.